Isang love letter para sa'yo, Feast Servant. Servant mahal. Alam namin napapagod ka rin. Minsan nagdududa. Yung nakakapansin. Yung mga simpleng bagay na nagawa mo. Yung tahimik na dasal. Na hindi mo na mabilang. Yung pagngiti kahit sa loob-loob mo. Hirap. Yung pagtulong kahit walang pumapalakpak. Pero gusto namin malaman mo. Nakikita ka. Ni Lord at ng mga taong pinaglilingkuran mo. Sa bawat sakripisyo, sa bawat maliit na oo, nakikita ka. Hindi to tungkol sa dami ng ginagawa. Hindi sa laki ng posisyon, kundi sa laki ng puso. Sa pagmamahal mong hindi umihinto. Itong feast natin, ang tahanan na to, nabuo dahil sa mga pusong katulad ng sayo. Hindi to nagsimula sa ilaw, o sa tugtugan, o magandang LED wall. Nagsimula to sa isang taong nagsabi ng, sige, ako na lang. Nagambag, nagpakita, nanalangin, habang wala nakatingin. Tapos dumami tayo. May sariling feast, may sariling LG, may sariling service. At sa bawat kwento at usad ng oras, laging may servant katulad mo na punong-puno ng halaga. At kung makakalimutan mong mahalaga ka, eto ang paalala. Nakikita ka. At sa puso ng community na to, mahal na mahal ka.
Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Patnubay at gabay ng magulang ay kailangan sa mga batang manonood.
Are you struggling with navigation directions? Or are you totally lost? Well, Mapping 101 Thursdays goes back on air and online on 2 DP24 integrated media channels with yours truly, Dear Ball. Hello everyone, and this is your Dear Ball speaking, and while we are waiting for this Mapping 101 Thursdays to go on air, we have some not so great news that we have received when the Philippine government have decided to block the Telegram app here in the Philippines due to the worsening cybercrimes that have perpetrated, that even the founder have, or even yours truly got encountered these cyber criminals that have perpetrated online on the Telegram. And it's so sad that even the innocent ones got impacted, especially businesses and even individuals, particularly to those on media as well, got impacted on the possibility of blocking the Telegram. Might even as well that the OpenStreetMap groups will be impacted also as well. I speak especially that we are on the Mapping 101 Thursdays and we are yet to be notified on these pressing issues that we have encountered as of this broadcast. And right now, we are scouting some locations that needs to be corrected, particularly on the lane assignment issues that needs to be fixed. And moreover, some of its developments are well underway, particularly on this routing, particularly on bus routes that has to be addressed. And right now, we have received some not so good news. And of course, it's sad for our fellow commuters wherein one particular bus company got into cease operations for some unknown reasons. And likewise, we are monitoring the North EDSA rail terminal station, especially with the looming opening of the MRT7 to be slated this 2026-2027. But no further details will be released other than from the Department of Transportation itself. Moreover, with the mass rapid transit lines nearing its completion and Metro Subway Line 9 got into a full speed or full construction speed, we will show up to you the presentation courtesy of our fellow OpenStreetMap contributors licensed under the Open Database License and Creative Commons share-alike license. And so, right as we speak, we are going to zoom into the development of the Metro Subway East Valenzuela Depot, wherein there are major progresses that were made, and one particular street got impacted by the ongoing construction, where P. De La Cruz Street got disconnected permanently. And we advise everyone, those who got impacted by the disconnection of such roadway, to exit through MGM roadway instead. That is at the border zone between Caloocan and Valenzuela. And likewise, the North Luzon Expressway segment 8.2 is also on the high-speed construction in order to connect with Quirino Highway and eventually C5 as well. And mind you guys, some may have impacted with the construction, so we have urged everyone to take the alternate routes as published over the Quezon City government pages. And we remind everyone to please abide with the rules of the roadway or the highway. And there's a possibility of a highway widening, particularly from C5 all the way into SM Novaliches as a result of the NLEX segment 8.2 construction. And speaking of Novaliches, we have a Friday worship night tomorrow at around 1800 hours, 6 p.m. exclusively on our general TV channel of DP24 Integrated Media. And on Saturday, we have Sweet Arts Insiders. And going back to our Mapping 101 Thursdays, there are several developments that happened, might as well as with the New Manila International Airport, and even the widening of the ramp and expressway in order to accommodate the ever-rising vehicular volume that needs to be addressed, along with the Ninoy Aquino International Airport rehabilitation and its namesake expressway. that would ever connect the Metro Manila Skyway and the Manila Cavite Expressway. And speaking of the Manila Cavite Expressway, which is signed as E3, well, we have a news for you. Manila Cavite Laguna Expressway Link Road Ramp got opened in order to ensure the continuity by avoiding such unexpected disconnection brought by the Manila Cavite Laguna Link Expressway within Kawit that is nearing its completion. And therefore, the ramp got completely mapped and subsequently corrected. And therefore, the expressway got finally mapped as a result of these developments. And as a result, there are several affected landowners need to be compensated, especially on one particular industrial subdivision that got affected by this Cavite Laguna Expressway construction. And likewise, these developments got mapped entirely. For the Governor Remulla Senior Highway, also known as Governor's Tribe, and there's additional bus stop right at the SNR Gen 3. Mind you guys that additional bus stops may be required in order to address the ever worsening commuting situation that has to be addressed right away. And likewise, right now, there's a sunset by the lagoon, so we advise everyone to please stay clear of the Manggahan congestion, especially that the concert is still ongoing And all commuters, especially if you're coming from LPU, going home to Dasmariñas, Imus, and Bacoor, are advised to take bus line 31. And for those with connecting routes towards General Alvarez are sadly have no bus lines available at this time. So a motorcycle taxi booking might be more likely. And if you do have to go home, please go home as safe as possible in order to avoid any sort of issues that might come as a result of this ongoing event. And for the Bantay Construction Series, still, the Palapala Tunnel is at construction stage, whereas diversions are likely for affected routing, particularly those in Palapala by bus needs to go around through Robinson, Dasmariñas until Kingsland in order to reach SM Dasmariñas by foot-to-foot bridge. And for the meantime, we advise everyone, especially if you're taking city bus lines, to please exercise caution when dealing with the long commuting period, especially that there's a bit of a standstill traffic in Bikutan Interchange, as this is a notoriously congested interchange, both on the northbound and the southbound of the route E3. And hopefully, we could solve such worsening congestion at the soonest time as possible. And likewise, for those who are wondering why there are some sort of signal light modifications, especially at one point where the crossing traffic got restricted unexpectedly, particularly in Highway 170 at grade and the Highway 130. And such restrictions would complicate the navigation process, especially to those who are used to be with the turning traffic, particularly on the service road of the northbound Highway 170 at grade. Such restrictions would no longer allow the through traffic and the left turn traffic from entering to the another segment, that is jumping off at the service lane, then jumping back on into the highway is no longer allowed. And as a result, we should have to prioritize this bus stop closest to Santo Domingo Church. Well, we will highlight this bus stop. This would be the bus stop for those heading to Highway 130 or Gregorio Araneta Avenue, to be exact, since most buses and jeeps will head towards the underpass as a result of these restrictions imposed by the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority. We're jumping off to the service road, then jumping back on again to the highway are no longer allowed. That would force everyone to make a right turn, and the U-turn slot got relocated as well, that have gone into Agno Street and its extension as a U-turn slot. So, this is where the Mapping 101 Thursdays will pursue its correction into its erratic navigation that have been a problem for most navigation software that have left unchecked, thus causing its frustration amongst the end users, particularly on one particular transport network company that have used the OpenStreetMap data as well for their navigation, and its associated services that they offer. And likewise, we will be going to correct the junction or the intersection that have banned permanently the straight-ons and the left turns in order to avoid potential interference with the underpass or the tunnel that had created. These similar restrictions has been implemented also on C5 Katipunan interchange, whereas the at-grade traffic are barred from making such a straight-on, thus necessitating the use of the unconventional diversion routing in order to meet with their destination. And such long diversions would lead into a problem where it is said to be the nearest place already, but it has been marred by these restrictions, adding into another travel time, therefore inconvenient for those heading to the nearest ones. Therefore, we have to correct while they are yet to be complained about. Any application that uses the OpenStreetMap data are deemed compliant already, especially if they are using the real-time editing as a basis for its data. And if you have experienced some sort of issues with the navigation, don't hesitate to message us out on our DP24 on our Facebook. Likewise, as we have realized that there's some sort of a technical issues that might have been experiencing, we do apologize for these inconveniences that had occurred along the way. And now we are about to correct routings and even correct everything where we can. The U-turns that have been shifted backwards towards Agno Street and its extension. So, we have to comply with the new directive from the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority. So, without further ado, we will be correcting this map to our designated Java OpenStreetMap editor in a while. And so without further ado, we will be launching this on a full screen as needed. So let's begin this editing right as we speak. We will be going to disconnect these two nodes that would be deemed annoying for some, but the shortcut key is Alt Juliet, or that's Alt J. And then we will reconnect once again on a new location. However, there's a catch here. We have a Metro Manila Skyway ramp that needs to be shifted as well. Into a new node. And likewise, new node has to be composed as a result of this. Then we will correct everything, especially on this routing that are remnants of a prohibited maneuver. And as a result, affected bus and jeepney routing needs to be relocated as well. These first three will need to be relocated into the tunnel, and therefore the upgrade will be discontinued as a result of these developments. So we will download ever so slightly for the south quadrant and the north quadrant of the affected segments. And likewise, if you're commuting by bus, they have warned everyone that they will take the underpass and not at the upgrade. And if you have missed an earlier bus stop you need to proceed to the next bus stop on another end of the after the underpass. Just like similarly have been implemented for C5 as well on city bus lines 18, 41, 59, and 65. All of these are operated by Metrolink Group, and therefore passengers are needed to be notified that they need to alight right away before they had entered the overpass in order to avoid inconvenience. And likewise, there's a bus stop right at the section where this one has been highlighted. And therefore, we need to add something like an exit in order for them to be informed that an exit is coming, so you have a decision whether to stay on the highway or to exit and make a right turn and on the signal light. And likewise, we will discontinue all of this navigation except for the bicycle route. Where bicycles are still allowed to make a straight on as safe as possible. Otherwise, they might be opted to use footbridge instead. And now, we are about to have over 11 affected routes to be remapped. As regulations does not allow the jumping off from highway then jumping back on to the highway, and that constitutes a violation of a traffic regulation. So just to be safe and for the accountability sake, we will be rerouting all of these affected routes except bicycles into the underpass. And while we are doing once again these map fixes, we have a public service announcement, especially to those who are still using Telegram, that there is a high risk of getting blocked out once the Philippine government have fully decided to block the Telegram platform nationwide. Right as we speak, Telegram is yet to provide or cooperate with the Philippine government for the possible non-compliance report NCR that has been issued against the Telegram messaging platform. Whereas several governments have attempted to contact, and the only challenges that they had occurred, there's no physical office at the country of jurisdiction like in the case of the Philippines, as DICT, CICC have mentioned over the news. So therefore, with the official statement has been released to be read out by later after this map fixes that we have to be made with such traffic scheme that needs to be implemented by the MMDA, the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority. Only those turning traffic have the right of way. Access by motor vehicle will be a compulsory right turn. except bicycles. And therefore, with the correction from yours truly, we have to be more careful and more prudent in responding to changes to the traffic flow. Likewise, the northbound cycling network will be maintained as possible. The only remaining left turn that's still allowed will be at the eastbound Highway 130. So, if we are going to modify this into a cycleway, then this will be restricted to bicycles only. And this would be affected as well. And as such, we will modify such turn restriction where appropriate. And this will only be a bicycle route only. And then we will be composing a brand new ramp. However, there would be unnecessary conflict for this. And as such, we have to exercise caution when dealing with these types of restriction that may affect the flow of the traffic as well. And now we are going to correct this. Two route relations that involves P2P bus route from Baguio to Cubao. One of which is an inner city such as on the window where we are narrating for you. And we have to separate this turning traffic in order to avoid inconvenience. Especially that this has been restricted only to the bicycles. But still, naming applies here. And this one still at the one-way routing. Ever since that there's still a no left turn allowed. Therefore, Maria Clara is still a designated U-turn slot to those supposedly making a left turn, but this would go against the rules. And before we conclude this, don't forget to save your edits always. And hopefully we could map some more time, especially that we have to prioritize the public safety over everything else. So, as a result of these developments, with this timely implementation of the traffic scheme, as far as we're concerned, wherein we could read at some point just for you, especially for those who are still listening into DP24 radio, or sometimes watching to DP24 General TV. And if you have missed the traffic advisory that has been issued last 19 February, then we will share it to you to FB. Whereas the through traffic to be prohibited, new U-turn slot location will be implemented as well. Where those coming from the exit ramp will only be allowed to utilize such relocated U-turn slot. And therefore, there would be additional bollards that come along in order to deter some sort of interference that may occur. Therefore, we could disconnect and now we shall be able to map out these barricades. We will be back after a while. Yes, we're back on the Mapping 101 Thursdays live on our two DP24 integrated media channels. And right now, we are currently fixing this new traffic scheme. Hello, and we are back on our Mapping 101 Thursdays here on our two DP34 integrated media channels. And yes, we apologize for some dead air while we are on the middle of the editing after the break. But we have to go through with the fixes, especially on the new traffic scheme on the Highway 130 and Highway 170. And let's show this one. And of course, this has been auto saved already. And we are about to map something, especially with the prohibited turns that needs to be fixing around. And now we have to implement the no U-turn. The RCA signage that needs to be seriously considered. And now we have a no left turn sign already mapped. And now this has been fixed already. Of course, what we have realized some things that if there's a new implementation in such traffic scheme, of course we have to fully support these efforts in order to curb such problematic turns that needs to be addressed. And as such, we will see the results in a moment. And now, here's the result of our mapping 101. And right now, as you can see, routing has been coursed through the underpass instead of the upgrade in which it is now prohibited. And if you need to make a straight on, you need to take a U-turn on the areas where it is still allowed. We will be checking and validating Kali Raya Street if this still being allowed. In this case, still allowed to make a U-turn right there. And now, with such restrictions in full force, these two bus stops especially at the opposite Santo Domingo Church nearest to Prima residences. Therefore, jumping back off from the highway, then jumping back on once again is strictly prohibited for safety reasons. And therefore, we will be advocating still for safety and security. And we thank everyone, especially for joining with us in this Mapping 101 Thursdays on our DP24 Integrated Media Thursday Primetime series. Has been a fulfilling and rewarding one. And sadly, we have all missed Father Michael Aguajas, Biblia Conia. And hopefully, for those who are still in Cavite, if you're listening or watching on this channel, then hopefully we could continue right there on that house to house Bible study without any conflict. And so, especially if those, or if we're involved in this humanitarian mission, then let's keep mapping all together, sweethearts, and have a good night and a sweet dreams. This has been your dear Paul, and always remember to be safe, be well, stay strong, stay sane, stay dry, and you are loved.
Isang love letter para sa'yo, Feast Servant. Servant mahal. Alam namin napapagod ka rin. Minsan nagdududa. Yung nakakapansin ba? Yung mga simpleng bagay na ginagawa mo, yung tahimik na dasal, yung pabor na hindi mo na mabilang, yung pagngiti kahit sa loob-loob mo, hirap. Yung Makipagtulong kahit walang pumapalakpak. Pero gusto namin malaman mo, nakikita ka. Ni Lord at ng mga taong pinaglilingkuran mo. Sa bawat sakripisyo, sa bawat maliit na oo, nakikita ka. Hindi to tungkol sa dami ng ginagawa. Hindi sa laki ng posisyon, kundi sa laki ng puso. Sa pagmamahal mong hindi humihinto. Itong feast natin, ang tahanan na to, nabuo dahil sa mga pusong katulad lang sa'yo. Hindi to nagsimula sa ilaw, o sa tugtugan, o magandang LED wall. Nagsimula to sa isang taong nagsabi ng, sige, ako na lang. Nagambag, nagpakita, nanalangin, habang wala nakatingin. Tapos dumami tayo. May sariling feast, may sariling LG, may sariling service. At sa bawat kwento at usad ng oras, laging may servant katulad mo na punong-puno ng halaga. At kung makakalimutan mong mahalaga ka, eto ang paalala. Nakikita ka. At sa puso ng community na to, mahal na mahal ka.